Hi everyone and welcome to the channel. So a question that a lot of people seem to ask me is, what was it like giving birth and being pregnant during the pandemic? And it's even gotten to the point where strangers have asked me this question. A lady just a couple of months ago actually was asking me questions about my daughter Ellie, and she then realised that I was pregnant during the pandemic, and she was curious and she asked me, well, what was that like for you? So in today's video, that is what I am going to answer. Long story short, because of the heavy nature of the restrictions that we all had on our lives, and due to the changes that, those restrictions brought upon our everyday lives, I'm not gonna lie, being pregnant and giving birth was isolating. It was lonely. I found it kind of sad. Of course, I am grateful that I was able to conceive, I was able to give birth, and Ellie, my daughter, is here today. However, the pandemic definitely had changed things a lot. It had such a heavy impact on appointments, on me going to the pregnancy assessment unit, on me giving birth, on just the pregnancy in general. I had to do a lot of things by myself, and that was scary. I'm not gonna lie, that was very scary. It was my first time being pregnant. I'm a first time mum, so this was all new to me. And the thing is, we were getting stresses from other areas of our lives as well. Like, it wasn't just the pandemic. There was, of course, other things going on as well during that time. So that didn't help either. But the pandemic, yeah, I mean, if I ever needed to go to appointments for scans, the first scan appointment, I was on my own. And my husband was lucky that he was able to attend the later scans. I did have a lot of scans during my pregnancy, but it's still upsetting that the very first time that I saw our unborn child during that first scan appointment was on my own. And it didn't have the same impact on me, because of course that is something that if your partner can be there for, I feel like that is something that you of course should share together. It's a wonderful moment. If there was ever any issues, I had to attend going to the pregnancy assessment unit completely on my own, which was, again, very daunting, especially because, a lot of the time you go to the pregnancy assessment unit because you believe there is a problem. I went about 3 times, I think it was, during the course of my pregnancy, and that was due to just feeling a lack of movement. To do that on my own was a big deal for me. The thing is, with the restrictions during my time that I was pregnant and giving birth as well, restrictions were changing every week almost. Things were like, it was like this one minute, then it was like that another second, and then it was like this, and then it was something totally different not too long after that. It was a very confusing time, and I was trying to get stuff ready for the baby, but at the same time I was like, well, what restrictions is going on? Am I able to do this? Am I able to do that? And then when it came to giving birth, it's kind of a strange one, giving birth, because at the time that I gave birth, the restrictions were that if you are having a natural birth, you could not have your partner with you. However, you were allowed your partner or someone else, of course, with you if you were going for a C-section. I was actually booked in for an arranged planned C-section, to which that would have meant that my husband was able to be with me. However, the morning that I went to the hospital to have my C-section, plans changed. And all of a sudden, doctors were telling me that I was able to give birth naturally. But because my husband was already in the building, whilst I was giving birth naturally, although technically he wasn't meant to be there, he was allowed in that instance because he was already there in the room with me. So it kind of worked out good for me in the end, because one of the things that I really was terrified about was having to give birth on my own. The night after I gave birth, I had to spend it in the hospital, and my husband had to leave. He had to go home. He wasn't allowed to stay any longer. And visiting times were allowed at the time that I had given birth, but they were very heavily monitored. So he could only visit during a set time, it was for a set amount of time, and that was it. It was only like once a day. And for me, trying to deal with a newborn, that stay in hospital after I'd given birth as a first-time mother was scary, and those restrictions didn't help. Of course, straight after I'd given birth as well, a lot of baby groups weren't on, so it was isolating afterwards as well in terms of baby groups and activities that were on that I could go to. Everything was still shut down, you know. Thankfully, not too long after I gave birth, things started to kind of slowly open back up and things like that. And it got to the point where there were no restrictions at all very soon after I'd given birth. But that did not make me feel any better in terms of what I had been through due to the changes of the pandemic. That was what it was like giving birth and being pregnant during the pandemic. It was lonely, it was isolating, it was upsetting, it was very stressful, it was traumatizing at times, just doing a lot of things on my own. I felt like I kind of had the world on my shoulders, you know? Because things were constantly changing, it was like really confusing, and like half the time I didn't know whether I was coming or I was going or what was going on, because everything was changing so quickly around me that I couldn't quite keep up a lot of the time, you know. That being said, I'm going to end this video here. Thank you so much for watching. If you have an experience of giving birth or being pregnant in the pandemic that you would like to share with me, then leave me a comment in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, leave it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and click on that subscribe button. Thanks a lot for watching once again, and I very much hope to see you in my next video. Bye everyone.